This is The Wheel Weaves, a Wheel of Time podcast with no spoilers. Welcome, listeners. This podcast is safe for first-time readers because it's made by a first-time reader. I'm your host, Dani, and I'm the one who's taken on the task of reading through this 15-book mega-series. I'm joined by my co-host, Brett, who's a longtime fan, and he's acting as my tour guide on this journey. Before we get into our episode today, we just want to thank and welcome House of Wonders and Ryan Davis to the Wheel Weaves Patreon team. We're really excited to have your support, and we really want to thank you for your generosity. This episode, we're going to be talking about Chapter 33.
The Dark Waits.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now that's ominous.
Pretty ominous.
It's very similar to Shadows Waiting.
It is.
So, needless to say, I was expecting some more death.
Yeah, okay, I can get that because it's the whole dark theme.
Yeah, just the whole shadow thing. But I need to get over the shadow of Mashadar. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
I need to get over those shadows.
Yeah.
And, realign my brain to think Dark Friends.
Yeah, like evil.
Evil shadows.
Yeah.
All evil, not just one.
Not just specifically one type of evil.
Yeah.
There's more than one kind of evil.
Yeah. Do you have something for us to start us off today?
I do, and this fun fact is a bit of an excerpt from an interview with RJ back in 1994.
Okay.
Yeah, so someone had asked him the question, what types of books do you read, and what genre, and how often, things like that. So based on RJ's answer, and it's kind of astounding, Robert Jordan claims that he reads about 400 books per year, roughly.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, of all types of genres. So he says about half nonfiction, the rest fiction, but spread over pretty much every genre. So that's a crazy amount of books to be reading, but it's kind of like studying.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say market research.
Yeah, and also learn how to do your job better, I guess, is
Yeah.
read lots of books. So
That's fair.
yeah, but 400 books a year.
Yeah, when does he even have time to write?
Yeah, that's over a book a day. So I mean, some people can just do that, right?
Yeah.
Some people are speed readers and they can just do it.
Okay, so now getting into this chapter.
Yeah, we have a lot to cover. I think I have the most notes I've ever taken for this chapter.
Really? Okay. Yeah. That's good because I know you have a lot to unpack here, especially timeline-wise.
Yes.
It's pretty confusing.
Yeah, and it is intentionally confusing, I'm pretty sure, because we're supposed to feel like we're in Rand and Matt's point of view, and they're definitely having a lot of stuff happen all at one time. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, well, we left Rand and Matt just as they had escaped from the inn in Four Kings, where Howl Goad, the Dark Friend, was trying to get them to come and meet the Dark One or something.
Yeah.
And they busted out of there using the power.
Yep.
But it was a little bit unclear, in my perspective anyway, and I think it was likely Rand having a channeling event. He blew out the inn wall and killed a bunch of people.
Yeah, and it definitely is really unclear for how they left things too, because it does seem like he struck the window with a lightning bolt, which is why Matt got blinded, and then everybody outside died.
Yeah. But
But we don't know the fate of Howl Goad, who was in the hallway.
right.
And the only reason that's confusing is because if the lightning bolt hit the window, Rand and Matt were still alive, would it actually kill the people in the hallway? We're not sure.
Right.
And then we saw that shadowy figure shaking his fist at the boys as they escaped.
Yeah.
And we didn't know exactly who that was.
Right. Okay. So we start with a flash forward in the flashback.
Yes.
Is that right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's a flash forward in the flashback.
Okay. Perfect. That's good. I'm glad we're starting out. It's not confusing at all.
Yeah.
I feel like Rand, always confused. So Rand and Matt are riding in a farmer's cart. They hitched a ride, and Rand is having just one hell of a time. He is feeling all weak and sick, and Matt and Rand are being super paranoid, and I say rightfully so. Because when carts are sort of passing them on the road, they're to the point where he's reaching for his sword every time.
Yeah.
And Matt is riding up shotgun with the farmer, and his name is Hyam Kinch, or
Yeah.
Ninch.
Kinch, yeah.
Kinch?
I'm Kinch.
So Matt is looking back at Rand to ask basically like if he spotted anything when a line of merchants' wagons passed them on the road. And it's noted here that Matt has his scarf. So this is before the beginning of chapter 31, but after the events of chapter 32.
Yes.
Because he is still having trouble seeing, and he tells Rand that his eyes don't hurt as much anymore.
Yeah, and we know his eyes hurt because of the lightning strike.
Right, and Rand is clearly having a reaction to channeling, which makes me also think that the channeling episode was just him, and obviously not the reaction at the same time situation. So like I had predicted last episode, I thought maybe it was a whole channeling and reaction at the same time situation, but it's clear that that's not what it was.
Yeah, it did kind of seem that way, but again, we get a little more confirmation here.
Yes, but he's just sort of getting super powerful.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, powerful is one way to put it, because what he's doing with it is definitely a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More powerful.
More powerful,
I think it's just important to note.
Okay.
So I like how even though Matt is cursed or whatever, he's still being really considerate of his friend. And he like asks Rand how he's feeling. And he says that he's feeling better and thinks about how it's crazy that he's getting over being sick so fast.
Yeah, so we get a little bit of hints here that Matt is still emotionally close to Rand.
Yeah.
Like we have seen that, distancing himself from strangers and super suspicious, but Rand he's still close with.
Right. Also, Rand sort of thinks about here that him getting over this sickness so fast, and he thinks that it has to be a gift of the light.
Yeah.
But I think that he knows it's more than that, and he's a little bit in denial.
Yeah, it does sound like a little bit of denial here, but we can time it out that likely this is just the reaction to channeling that we saw in Four Kings, and that's why he's getting over it quick. Because that sounds exactly the same thing that happened to Nynaeve.
Right. Yeah. And the people that she saw, there was another wisdom apprentice or something like that who also got over being sick really fast or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I think...
Is it just Nynaeve?
I think it's just Nynaeve, and I think that other one died.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Didn't really get
too
over
soon.
it.
Too soon.
Shoot.
Oh, shoot. Okay, well, Rand and Matt, while they're traveling down this road on this cart, they pass some soldiers on the road. And they find out from the farmer guy that this is the Queen's Guard.
Yeah, and we saw militia in Whitebridge.
We saw militia in Whitebridge, but these guys are the actual, official Queen's Guard. They're in better fitting clothes and they're way more official.
Like actual uniforms and armor and weapons, so.
Yeah. And so Master Kinch?
Yeah, Kinch. Yeah, Kinch.
explains to the boys about how the Queen's Guard doesn't go very far anymore. Not like the good old days.
Not the good old days, yeah.
There are parts of the realm that have never even seen them. And he says that right before he's surprised to hear that there are parts of the realm that never see them.
Yeah. Well, it kind of connects the dot, as in he probably thought that there must be places that have never seen it, but he's never met someone who
doesn't know at all.
Yeah.
And he goes, man, if you don't know anything about the Queen's Guard, where are you guys from?
Yeah, it must be from really far off.
Yeah, and Matt says far off, and Rand says the Two Rivers.
Yeah, and it's good job, Rand. You're telling everybody where you're from again. So.
Yeah, but then he says, oh yeah, that is far off.
Yeah. Now, it is kind of neat to note that we did speculate previously about the Two Rivers being in the realm of Andor.
Yeah.
Right? Just based on the borderlines of the map.
Yeah.
But now we can also figure out that the Queen's Guards have literally never been to Two Rivers in Rand and Matt's memories.
That's true.
And they're probably getting close to 20 years old. So,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but that's just a crazy long time.
Well, yeah, but we also know about Two Rivers is that it's very well isolated.
Yeah, super
beyond
secluded.
the Terran River, right? And then the mountains on one side and some other crap on the other side.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly right.
But Rand wonders about how Master Alvear would think about the Two Rivers being part of some queen's realm.
Yeah.
But then, like, I can't even yell at him for being stupid because he corrects himself.
Yeah.
And he thinks, he probably actually knows a lot.
Yeah, he probably does. Same with, like, Tam, and probably the village council knows, but it's not relevant.
It's not even talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not relevant because if they never come there, then...
No,
like,
village matters are handled in the village.
Yeah.
That's basically what this comes down to.
Yeah, exactly.
So the nice farmer guy drops them off and says that he can't go any farther, but sees that Rand is, like, struggling to get out of the cart and offers up his place for them to stay and rest up for a couple days. And right away, Rand notices Matt's eyes narrowing, but he finds himself frowning also. And then he thinks about how not everyone has to be part of it. It can't be everybody.
Yeah. And at this point in the chapter, it's a little bit confusing because the boys are having this thought, like, it can't be everybody, it can't be everybody.
Yeah.
But then in the chapter, this is like the flash forward.
I was going to say this is foreshadowing.
This is foreshadowing. Yeah.
In the chapter, in the order of events that I'm reading it in, this is a foreshadow for what I'm going to find out happens.
Yes, yeah.
Like, I understand that it's actually happening after everything has happened.
Yeah.
But for me as a reader, this is a foreshadow to
for what's going to happen in
it
the
is
chapter.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is pretty much everybody, so.
Yeah. But the old farmer is just like a nice guy, and he says that, like, something is obviously chasing them, and he can't really tell if they're dark friends or not. But then Matt demands to know what he knows about dark friends.
And I noticed you emphasized on the word demanded.
Yeah, in my note I wrote it all in caps.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And
this is
now.
the progression of Matt's suspicion.
Yeah.
But only to strangers, not towards Rand.
Not towards Rand. So either way, they turn him down, and they find out that they're about 2 days from Camelin. And so they head on towards the next village, and Matt is feeling kind of bad after seeing how weak Rand is. But he clearly does not trust this guy and is so relieved that Rand is starting to feel better. And Rand thinks about how they're not so much as being chased, but more like what's waiting for them.
Yeah, and again, this is like the foreshadow that it seems like every time they get to a village, something's waiting, not pursuing.
Right.
Yeah, and then we get the flashback to the dancing cartman.
Right, but I put a little edit in my note here that, like, when I was finished reading the chapter, I went back to this area because I wanted to talk about this, because I think this is where our story will continue in real time.
After this chapter?
Like, after this chapter.
Yeah.
Because the next paragraph is flashing back to the night that they're escaping away from the Four Kings.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right about that. So this is the last of the flashbacks from what it seems.
Okay.
Until we get into real time.
Okay, so back to the night of the escape from Four Kings. It's raining and miserable, and Matt is pretty much completely blind, and Rand is leading him by the hand, which is pretty cute to picture.
Yeah.
I like that.
Just
I
going
hope they
through
do
the
this
rain.
well in the show.
Oh, yeah. I love this. Yeah.
And
Entire Matt and Rand journey is so great.
Well, it's also neat because it's really, really dark, and they only really see things by lightning flashes. So I can picture this just being such a dramatic scene, right? Where you don't really see what's going on, and then a lightning flashes, and then you see something else. Like, I think it's really cool. It's a cool, it's a well-constructed scene.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I also like how realistic it is that if somebody were to witness a lightning strike, it's going to impair their vision.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're not getting away from that.
No, and just like, there's times with characters in books or movies when they're like right next to an explosion, but then their hearing isn't impaired at all, and you're like, well, that's not realistic, but this is very realistic. And
even like fires and stuff like that, like if you stand too close to a bonfire, it's like way too hot. So but super realistic.
So Rand thinks about how they will never get away if Matt loses his sight. And Matt seems to sense this because he tightens his grip on his friend's hand.
Oh, yeah.
And says, "You won't leave me, will you, if I can't keep up?"
Just so heartbreaking.
Rand just basically says, "Of course not." So cute. Their friendship goals, I think.
Oh, yeah, to aspire to? Yeah.
And so they are worried about Goad finding them, but Rand says that he must be dead, and they decide to stop for the night and curl up under some bushes.
Yeah, so here's the question, and we're going to come back to this during this next dream sequence.
Yeah.
Do you think that Howl Goad died from the lightning strike? Do you think that killed him? I know it's a loaded question because we don't know.
We don't 100% know. And in my notes at this point, before I read the dream sequence, I said, maybe dead. There was a man shaking his fist at them as they left.
Yeah, and that's the only tough part because it seemed like Goad implied that Hake, the innkeeper, was drugged. So he would be like sleeping. But I mean,
unless they just like barred his door.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Or like a lightning strike blowing up half your inn woke him up.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what he drugged him with, but it might not be that strong.
Yeah, I don't really know if I got the whole like drugged part. It was just sort of like, he won't bother us.
Yeah, it's very, Like and that's the issue is like everything's so not clear of what actually happened.
It's very cryptic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Okay.
At that point.
Yeah. We'll talk about it again once we get to the dream sequence.
Sure. Okay, so cue dream sequence.
Hey, we're at the dream sequence.
Yeah, and we don't even have to guess this time because Rand tells us right away.
He knows it's a dream.
Right away. So this is a dream, and he's back in the Four Kings, and no one else is there. Everything is dead. So he goes into the dancing cartman and sees Goad sitting at a table, but he's all burnt and gross. And Rand says, "So you are dead." And it's Baalzamon who answers him, and he says yes. So I think that answers our question. I think he died.
Yeah, but my question was, do you think the lightning strike killed Goad?
Yes.
Or do you think that Goad didn't die in the lightning strike, reported to Baalzamon that he found Rand, and then Baalzamon killed Goad?
I think he had already reported.
Okay. Because that's the other thing, is like, it seems like Baalzamon could have killed Goad or punished Goad for not capturing or, getting Rand like he was told to.
Yeah, I just don't know. If I was putting myself in Goad's position, and I found him, but then he got away, am I eager to report that?
But can you avoid it? That's the issue. Is like, do you think you could actually run fast enough and far enough away so Baalzamon can't find you? Like, probably not, especially if you're a dark friend.
It's a little murky.
It is murky, and that's why I love this, is because we don't definitively know.
Anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Because he's dead.
How he died? Because he's dead. And that's my hard stance.
Yeah. My whole point here was like, oh, fuck, it's Baalzamon.
Yeah.
Too, like,
well, of
keeps
course.
finding me, yeah.
But, so he says, yes, he's dead, but he did find you for me, and that deserves some reward. And Baalzamon has rage, hate, and triumph battling on his face, and this is where Rand starts to feel scared.
Yeah, it's a good place to feel scared.
So Baalzamon explains to Rand that he can't hide forever, and he should just come to him willingly. He even offers out like a hand to him as some kind of weird gesture, and he says it will be better if he just accepts and goes with him, because his, quote, hounds will not be so gentle, they are jealous of what you will be.
Yeah.
He also says what protects him will also make him vulnerable. And I want to know what protects him.
Yeah, so we need to break this down a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot here.
So I think that we can assume a couple of things here, because in that whole sentence with Baalzamon, he says, you can't hide from me forever, I'll find you one way or the other. He is not at this point saying which one are you, and that's a really big thing to note here too.
Yeah.
Is that he hasn't mentioned like which one are you in any sense.
Okay.
And he seems to really do that a lot previously. But then he
says...
So
you think he's figured it out?
It sounds like it because he's not asking anymore.
Okay.
But I just want you to keep that in mind, because then he says one time you hide, the next you light a signal fire. And the intention, or what it sounds like, is that Rand and Mat are traveling really quickly, and they are trying to hide their path, but then they go ahead and do things like blow up an inn.
Right.
Right, so it's like you're being really stealthy, and then you blow up something. So that's kind of like lighting the signal fire. But did you have any thoughts on what makes you vulnerable can protect you?
No, that was my question for you. Like,
Okay.
what protects him? The only thing that came to mind is, like, dumb Harry Potter, love magic. Because love magic protected Harry.
Okay, you could just cut out. You could cut out the love part and just go with the magic.
So it's the magic that protects him?
Yeah. Well,
But
I mean,
makes him
it's
vulnerable?
saved them. So, in my thoughts, and again, just from the reading of this, not from knowing more,
Yeah.
I would argue that being able to channel protects Rand because it can get him out of sticky situations like being trapped in an inn.
Right.
But it makes him vulnerable because we know that Saidin is tainted.
Okay, that's true. And it also makes him vulnerable if the magic is like a signal
Yeah.
that leads Baalzamon right to him.
And it also makes him vulnerable because after he channels, he gets crazy issues.
Yes.
Like sickness and hallucinations and all these other things.
Right.
So it is kind of like the double-edged sword of like, hey, channeling can help you, but it's going to hurt you.
Gotcha.
So that's what you could probably pull out of this right now.
Okay, and we should probably take a shot because I mentioned Harry Potter.
You did. You did.
Okay. Time lapse, and I'm back with our shots, and you are staring at your shot glass like you don't know where that's from.
I don't even know if I've ever seen this before.
Okay, well, what does it say?
It says Steel Venom.
Yeah, that is a roller coaster at Valley Fair in Minneapolis. That's what that shot glass is from.
I've never seen this before.
Yeah, it was in the back.
Yeah, apparently.
And I have Pisa.
Oh, that's way cooler than Steel Venom.
No, Steel Venom was cool. I thought you'd
Do you have
like
like a
that
story
one.
to go along with this, or is it just
It's
like
a fun roller coaster.
you went to Valley Fair?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never been there, so I mean.
Oh.
But okay, Pisa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the shot glass is leaning, which is what I'm gonna be like after I take my shot.
You know what the coolest part about Pisa was? The fact that everyone talks about the tower, but nobody talks about the giant freaking building that's beautiful right beside it.
Yeah.
It's like a cathedral, or I don't know what it is. I think it's a church.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
But it's a whole thing. There's
Yeah.
a whole other part of Pisa that no one talks about.
Yeah, that part doesn't lean, so it's not interesting.
No, it's like well constructed.
Yeah.
Cheers. You okay?
Yeah, every time. But that's okay. And to be fair, I think that Pisa, the tower is well constructed. I think it's the ground that sunk.
Yeah, but that's part of construction.
Oh, I guess the foundation.
Like if our house was like...
I'd blame the ground, not the construction.
Yeah, okay. Well, somebody's gonna get a call.
Whatever, let me get my notes back up here. Okay, so in the dream, Rand argues back at Baalzamon and says that he belongs to himself and he will never belong to you.
Yeah. It's like, way to fight back, man. You know, you got this crazy evil, guy.
And then he says, well, if the Dark Friends kill me, then you can't have me. Wrong.
Yeah. Not so much.
But, like, nice try.
But
He's
also...
like, willing to, like, sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool on Rand's part. It looks like the first, like, self-realization.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely is. And he's finding that inner strength and the inner stubbornness.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not giving up to you.
Yeah, but Baalzamon just says, alive or dead, you're mine. The grave belongs to me. Easier dead, but better alive. And then the weird burned goad tries to talk, and it's like a weird gurgle because he's all burned and gross. And Baalzamon says, fine, here's your reward. And then he just like crumples into a pile of dust on the floor.
Okay, so I want to pick this apart a little bit here. Because I know
Am I going too fast?
you're going too fast.
I think it's all so funny.
It is funny, but it is really interesting, and I think that it puts a little bit of perspective into the characters here. Because putting yourself into the mind of both Baalzamon and into the mind of Goad, you have Goad, who is from what we saw, like an arrogant, weird dark friend who clearly thinks he's better than everybody else.
Yes.
Because when he
because
introduced
of his
himself...
like silky velvety clothes.
That too, but when he introduced himself to Rand and Matt, he said, I would only be sent to find someone like the next Dreadlords.
Right,
Which you
okay.
must be.
Okay.
Right? So like, Goad's self-importance made him think that I would only be sent to go find people who are pretty powerful.
Okay.
Which may or may not be true. And then we have it where he's looking, and right before he gets like disintegrated by Baalzamon, he has a look of sublime joy that turns to horror in the final moment. and it's like right before when you think you're going to get rewarded, because Balzamon's like, oh, don't you think finding a random match would be rewarded? He's like happy about it, and then when the realization sets in that Balzamon just like evaporates him, it's like that horror of now you're dead and in the Dark One's grasp. It's like God gave his soul to the devil.
Yeah. That was my question about this, because I sort of said, what?
Yeah.
Like, did he bring him back to life? And then life is like outside of this dream? You know, so he was like evaporated out of this dream sequence, and then now he's back out of like subconscious, he's in real life? Or did he just like put him out of his misery because he was all burned and gross and
exactly? But if you pledge your soul to the Dark One thinking that he has power over life and death,
yeah,
right, and he can give you eternal life, and that's like the reward, but when the time comes, you know, Balzamon just zaps you out of existence here.
Essentially, yeah.
Right? That kind of is like you gave your soul to the devil who's lying about what he's going to give you as a reward.
Yeah.
It's like what he thought he was going to get didn't turn out. And instead of getting eternal existence, he gets literally nothing.
Yeah. Well, he might have eternal existence.
He might.
We don't know where he went.
But I don't think that the joy turning to horror
in his
last
bad.
moment.
It's bad, but I don't think he's like gone forever. I think that he's alive somewhere doing something.
Okay.
Somewhere.
So you think that the Dark One, the father of lies, lived up to his promise?
Oh, no. Well, I think he like brought him back to life, but like in some sort of
like
different way.
Okay.
I don't think he like zapped him out of existence forever.
Maybe I was too specific with that phrasing.
Maybe.
But that's what I'm just saying is like, it doesn't seem like it went the way that Goat
Well,
thought
no,
it was
I
gonna
don't think that he like gets to just like be alive as a human on Earth again, and then just gets to like continue running around as a Dark Friend merchant.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. The whole point was like it doesn't seem like this went the way that Goat thought it was going to go.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a good statement to make. So Balzamon says to Rand, my favorite line, "The eye of the world will never serve you."
Yeah.
And then he says, "I mark you mine," and throws a ball of fire in his face. Bam!
Yeah, boom. There
Bam.
you go. Not a raven, though.
Not a raven.
Because we did see that with Perrin.
Yes, but apparently all you have to do to mark people yours is throw something in their face.
Funny story. That's how I proposed to you.
And never having read this book before,
it was very confusing.
I was very confused.
Yeah.
And I broke up with you, and I didn't say yes.
Yeah, that didn't actually happen,
No.
but I wish I could have proposed that way.
Throwing something in my face?
And saying, I mark you mine.
Like rose petals or something.
Yeah, just be like, black.
Not like a ball of fire.
Well, maybe.
Or like, I'm just picturing like a handful of flour. Just like the worst thing you could add. Or like glitter.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That would stay in my hair for weeks. Balzamon should try glitter.
Less threatening.
Like glitter bombs, though? Oh, man, people hate those.
It's like an inconvenience.
Oh, it's more than that, though, because you can't get rid of glitter.
But to be fair, we do know...
It's the herpes of the craft world.
We have evidence that the Dark One likes to inconvenience people.
Oh, yeah.
Because last time when I can't remember who said the Dark One's name in the Two Rivers, he got
Yellow eye
fever. It's like it didn't kill anyone, but...
But, okay, so I have a question about timeline.
Okay, before we go into that, before the timeline, one other thing I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Balzamon says, easier dead, but better alive.
Yeah.
The living have more power in most things.
Oh, okay.
Any thoughts on what that could mean?
Well, the only thing I can really think of is that whole easier dead, but better alive. I'm thinking that maybe once you die, and then if you're like brought back or something like that, maybe you're limited.
Okay.
In ways, you know, like we see that in other fantasy where if characters come back, I'm gonna Harry Potter again, but with like the resurrection stone.
Okay.
When you bring people back from the dead, they're like a shell of what they once were.
You lose a piece of yourself.
Right.
Okay.
And so maybe it's better if they're alive because then they're their whole, full, like, powerful selves. And if they're alive, I mean, it's harder to capture them.
Yeah.
that's probably why easier dead.
Yeah. And I mean, that could
better
kind of
alive.
talk to why the boys have clearly not been, like, trying to be killed yet.
Yes.
There's been multiple opportunities to kill the boys, but they haven't taken that.
Yes.
So I guess that could kind of answer that, too.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do a shot. I'll pour a half a shot.
Yeah. That was like 5 minutes. Too.
Yeah. Do you want a new shot glass? No. Okay. Cheers, Steel
Cheers.
Venom.
Steel Venom and Pizza.
It doesn't get easier. Not yet, anyway. Maybe
Yeah.
the next one will be easier. Okay, so can you answer a question about timeline for me?
Yes, timeline.
So I want to know where this falls. So I said in chapter 31, in that episode, I had asked if there had been a dream.
You did. You brought that up because in the wording.
Because there was, of the wording, Rand said something about being marked by the Dark One.
Yes.
And it was the same wording as Perrin's dream.
Yep.
Where Perrin got marked by the Dark One.
With the raven being thrown into his eye. We hadn't seen a dream sequence with Rand yet.
Right, but
Yeah.
because I didn't realize that was such a fast forward
Yeah.
in the story, and then now we're flashing back.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about where this falls around Perrin's dream. I don't know if these dreams are all happening simultaneously like they were before, because I think it has to do with if they're found or not.
Yeah.
And I'm more convinced than ever that it has to do with being found by dark friends.
It's tough to say because we don't have any definitive answers or timeline exactly.
Right.
We can assume it's happening pretty close to the same time, but I think you're right where it's happening because they're being found by dark friends.
Okay.
And that's as much as I can pretty much give you.
Okay, and then, so if they're found out, then that's when Baal-Zaman is going to get into their dreams. And
Yeah.
so because Perrin and Matt and Rand are separated, their dreams may not be exactly coinciding.
It doesn't seem like they might be exactly.
Okay, because I had a weird theory about them all being, like, connected in a way. And so if one
Okay.
gets found, the other was found. We talked about this in
Yeah,
an
yeah,
episode.
we did, yeah.
But I'm less confident about that theory now.
Okay, because you had the question with, like, the proximity.
Yes.
Okay.
So Rand wakes up with a start, and he feels his face, which feels tender, like it's been sunburned. And then Rand realizes that Matt is twisting and moaning in his sleep, so he wakes him up, and Matt whimpers, "My eyes, he took my eyes."
Yeah.
So Baal-Zaman must have also thrown something in Matt's face to mark him as well,
Yeah.
and affected his eyes.
Yeah,
Right? Because
just like the piercing
Perrin.
of Perrin's eye. And that's why I brought up to you that it's now, it doesn't seem like Baal-Zaman doesn't know which boy is which, because now he has marked all three of them.
Okay.
Whatever that means, he's definitively
Maybe it doesn't
stated.
matter to him which one it is anymore.
Maybe it doesn't, exactly. But he's put a mark on each individual boy in some form or another. And we know that Perrin's was a raven, Rand's was a fireball, and we don't know what Matt's was.
Yeah, something about his eyes, though.
Yeah.
But then I said, like, his eyes are already injured. So, like, I wonder. And then I also have more questions about timeline.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
does it make sense in this timeline that this is also when Perrin had his dream? Oh, this is where I wrote this in my notes, because
Okay.
I really wanted clarification about that, because that chapter where Perrin had his dream was called Shelter from the Storm.
Yes.
And I had figured that it was a figurative dark magic storm.
But it also could have been a
But
storm
it
that they were just
also
in.
might have been the literal thunderstorm.
That was huge and that they're escaping in.
Yes. Okay, so then I broke it down.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my breakdown? I
Of
know you
course I
have
do.
a breakdown.
No, I want to hear your breakdown. This is
Okay.
awesome. Yeah.
It is good? Okay.
Yeah.
So Perrin has a dream. Then Rain, the Seeker of the Tinkers, says the storm is coming.
Yes.
So Perrin's dream happens before a storm. Moraine gets to Whitebridge 1 to 2 days after Matt and Rand were there, and she says the storm has passed.
Yes.
So, if the storm has passed, when Matt and Rand were in Whitebridge a day before,
Yep.
the storm was around when they were in Whitebridge when the Fade showed up. Not this storm in Four Kings.
But also keep in mind where they actually are. Because Perrin is further north, Rand and Matt are further east, and Moraine is to the west.
Yeah.
So it's just like when they talk about where the storm's location is, it kind of throws it off a little bit.
Right, but I would assume, like, my question is it all happening all at the same time? Is it the same, quote, storm? And I don't think it is, because Rand and Matt are like 1 to 2 weeks out of Whitebridge to reach the Four Kings. At least a week.
Yeah, I'd say closer to a week.
Yeah, even more almost.
Yeah.
It sounds like. And then the storm happens in Four Kings. So that's at least a week later.
Yeah.
And Moraine is in Whitebridge 1 to 2 days after they left and said the storm has passed.
And then switches directions.
Then switches directions. So it's at least a week before she says the storm has passed, and then, so I'm still sticking with it's a
different storm.
Figurative storm that whole shelter from the storm was about.
Yeah.
But tricky wording and
Very tricky.
Really made me think.
And that's what makes it extra difficult about timeline. And I kind of think that just puts us into the characters' heads of nobody knows where each other are.
Right. So, not the same storm, and these dreams happen on different nights.
Yeah.
Definitively in my brain.
Yeah. That's called headcanon.
Probably because Baalzamon lost Rand and Matt for a while, and it was Gode who found them for him.
Yes.
Which makes me think that someone maybe in the Tinkers is actually a dark friend.
And I had asked you if you thought that was a thing.
I really didn't think so.
Oh man.
And now I'm thinking that it's someone who gave away the whereabouts of Perrin, probably Aram, because he's the worst.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
After reading this chapter, and then thinking so deep in it, my mind is blown. So I'm thinking Aram is the dark friend.
You think okay.
Or someone in the Tinkers.
Yeah.
Because it was given away. That's the only new people they met.
Like, as soon as they found a bunch of people and they spent some time with them, boom, Perrin gets found.
Or it's Elias.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, that's it. That's the only people. It's either the Tinkers or Elias.
Yeah.
And the White Cloaks are so hard about these wolves being dark friends. Like, maybe they actually are. I don't know. But then Perrin isn't, so I don't know. It's all crazy.
You're throwing out some wild accusations here.
I'm really throwing it all out. But then also Daman is totally a dark friend too.
Why is Daman a dark friend?
Because he was cahooting with those guys dressed the same as Gode. Or maybe even Gode.
He was selling his wares, presumably.
Maybe.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
He seemed to really know them.
You know, sometimes as a merchant, you have to do business with people you don't want to make some money.
I think Daman's a dark friend, and that's probably how the Fade found Rand and Matt in Whitebridge.
Okay, so...
Because that happened like this. As soon as they got to Whitebridge, a Fade showed up.
That did happen.
Moments after these weird guys...
So that does look bad.
It doesn't look good.
Doesn't look good.
I'm just putting like 2 and 2 together at this point.
You are. Okay.
Rant over.
Wow.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I love accusations being thrown around.
It's
That's
just
great.
Like crazy.
Yeah.
But...
Everyone's a dark friend.
Well, I'm sounding a little more like Matt right now.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
I'm channeling my inner Matt and saying everyone's a dark friend, and that's how they're being found out.
Okay.
That's how they're being found.
Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense. And that makes sense with the chapter title of The Dark Waits.
Okay. Yeah. Sure it does. Why not?
Because, dark friends are waiting for them.
Oh, yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
So, anyway, back to the really sweet scene of Rand comforting Matt. Like, true friends for sure, where Matt is sort of whimpering after having this dream, and Rand is saying, it's okay, like, they can't have us, we're not going to lay down and take it, and the rain lets off a bit as the sun comes out, but everything is still really cold, plus they're soaking wet. They continue on their journey, and Rand takes on the leadership role, mostly because Matt can't see for shit.
Yep.
They pass a village and some farmhouses, but Rand is thinking ahead about if any of Goad's men did survive, he doesn't want to be seen by any farmers or anyone who can share their whereabouts.
Yeah.
He wants, if any of the men survived, he wants them to think that they went south on the road out of Four Kings and didn't go east.
Yeah. I mean, that's a smart plan.
Yeah, it's smart. Rand is doing something smart.
Yeah.
Good for Rand.
Took a little while, but we got there.
So, about an hour later, Rand is taken by surprise when a cart rolls up on them, and Rand had been distracted by worrying about Matt, like too distracted to notice it.
Yeah, and it's kind of a funny callback because at the beginning of chapter 31, we had it where the two boys are like super diligent in watching for dust patterns.
Yeah. I do say right here, call back to the beginning of chapter 31. This is where we get that piece of information about when the road is wet, it's hard to hear people coming.
Yeah, and they were like surprised.
Yes.
So this is the first event, and then chapter 31 happens after this.
Exactly. Okay.
Yep.
So the farmer pulls up and offers them a ride, and Rand thinks about how like they've already been seen, and it would be more of a spectacle
to say no
if they didn't take the ride, right?
Yeah.
So the farmer is Alpert Mull.
Yep.
And he really just sort of wants someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Because he's had
on a little rant.
Shitty winter and a shitty spring, just like everyone else.
First time I had to buy hay.
Yeah, and his cow dried up or whatever. And when he drops them off, he feels kind of bad for not offering them a place to stay. But he needs to be wary of strangers. So this is the guy who offers them the scarves that belong to his boys to help with the dust on the road.
Yeah.
And Rand is thankful, and they continue on their journey.
Yeah, and the way RJ ties this back to the beginning of chapter 31 is he uses the exact same words that were said at the beginning of chapter 31.
Right, because in chapter 31, Rand is remembering.
He's remembering the event, and that's the confusing part, is that it's the memory of
this event.
Yeah. But it's like from the future.
Cool.
So.
Whatever. So they continue by foot, and then finally Rand spots a village and thinks about how their clothes are still wet and how cold this night will be in the open, and basically they're going to die if they don't go to the inn. So he decides that this is a good place to spend some money at an inn on a meal and a bed.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, they've been making some money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they also still have money from when Tom split their money up.
That's true, yeah.
So they do have money. But yeah, they did make some. Plus, they have to keep from attracting attention. And playing the flute and everything would be too much. And also, Matt is so blind, he wouldn't be able to juggle anyway.
Yeah.
And Matt is kind of like a kid here, asking his parents, are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Yeah.
When are we going to stop? And Rand tells Matt that they will stop when they are somewhere warm. And that's when they come up on the inn. And Rand is slightly hesitant, but he knows that this is the only choice.
Yeah, and I mean, he's just reliving those past fears of what happened at the dancing cartman with Hake.
But right away, he notices the difference between this well-lit, clean inn and Hake's, like, gross, dirty inn.
Yeah, and it's like the casual violence that Hake was, doing, like backhanding the waitress.
Yeah. Serving maid.
Yeah.
But this place is warm, and the people are not, like, wasted off their asses, and the serving maids are kind and smiley.
And most importantly,
the innkeeper is fat.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
So and Rand notes that he'll never trust a skinny innkeeper
it's always
again.
Good advice, yeah.
Yeah. So the price here is even higher than they expected, and they have to pay up front. So they eat, and Rand keeps his eyes on the door while Matt is still struggling with the lights in the inn, hurting his eyes. And this is where he takes the scarf out and wraps it around his head to shield his eyes from the light.
Yeah.
Which is how we met him at the beginning of this chapter.
Correct. So, because he's kind of kept on with that.
Right. But it looks very weird and earns him a few odd looks.
Yeah.
And if he was a student in my classroom, I would say that is very unexpected.
Yeah.
That makes people confused.
Yeah. It certainly does.
But he does it anyway because it's helping him. And after they eat very quickly, they head up to their rooms, and Rand sleeps in his damp clothes with his sword belt still on for safety.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that they do get a full night of rest here.
Yeah, they do.
And that is like honestly something that they needed badly.
Yeah.
They have not had a very easy journey.
No, they haven't.
Yeah, because since Four Kings, like they didn't sleep at all. So,
No.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, they sort of dozed off under a bush when they're freezing and...
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
didn't get like a rest in a bed in a
No,
warm inn.
and when they
so-
wake up, Rand just like wants to keep sleeping.
Yeah.
When they do wake up, Matt is excited to find that he can see again.
Which is good that it's not permanent
Yeah,
blindness.
not very clearly, but better than yesterday, and probably also helpful that they did get to rest and sleep.
Yeah.
So his eyes did get a chance to rest.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for your body like hitting the reset button.
Yeah, so that's good news, and Rand feels good too about being a day away from Four Kings,
And this is so funny.
and none of Gode's men showed up, and he thinks about getting to Caemlyn soon and meeting up with Moraine, and he's sure that she will be there, and he might even kiss her. He'll
yeah.
be so happy to see her.
My only comment was, oh, so you think Moraine's just going to be waiting for you in Caemlyn?
You know,
Like,
I-
fantasy world here.
and that's funny, because in my notes I wrote, I agree. I'm feeling like Caemlyn is the place to be.
Oh,
And I think this is where all the hype is. And I've said it before. I think that's where the reunion's going to be.
you do?
There's
Okay.
a lot of hype around Caemlyn.
There is.
And it seems like the natural meeting point, and they're all sort of set on meeting there. So I think there's going to be more waiting around for each
However,
other.
every single one of them has mentioned that if they don't meet up in Caemlyn, they're going to head on towards Tarvalon.
But every single one of them has mentioned that they would wait for a bit
That's true.
to meet up.
Okay.
I think the meetup's
Okay.
in Caemlyn.
All right.
That's just what my gut tells me.
Big party going down in Caemlyn.
Well, yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel like you could stay in Caemlyn because it's the capital, right?
Yeah.
Like you could hide there more easily and like stay in Caemlyn, but then at the same time, it's a huge city. How are you going to find each other?
That's true.
I don't know. I think I'm more counting on Moraine's ability
To find
to
people.
track them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm still feeling like, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that's where it'll happen.
All right.
That's where it'll go down.
Cool.
Because they're not going to go off to Tarvalon alone. That's like the worst fucking idea.
Yeah, and these characters always make the best decisions. That's true. Yeah.
No, I just,
All right.
in my happy Fantasyland world, everyone meets up in Caemlyn.
Okay.
That's what I want. At least some of them, anyway. I'm really hoping for a meetup of someone somewhere. And after the whole captured by White Cloaks thing, I was hoping Perrin and Egwene and the White Cloaks would meet up with maybe Rand and Matt, like in Four Kings. Like, I think I had mentioned that happening.
Yeah, okay.
I wanted that to happen.
Okay.
I'm scared for Rand to meet up with Dane Bornhold, though.
If he sees him, yeah.
I don't know.
It's a lot. That's a lot.
But anyways,
Okay.
so Rand thinks about how there'll be no more dark friends. And I think, okay, I bet there will be.
Yeah.
And a young man comes into the room as Rand and Matt eat breakfast. And he is weird and shifty. And he does a double take when he sees them and goes over to sit with them.
Yeah. And
And-
that's another time where we get a double take of the boys.
Right.
Because-
Which is
Yeah.
Howell Go.
Howell Go did like a double take.
Yeah, and he's uncomfortable and tells them that he doesn't really want to do this, but he's being forced to. And Matt immediately says, "Dark friend."
Yeah.
And originally, when I read this, I really thought Matt was just being paranoid.
Okay.
And I thought maybe there aren't as many dark friends as they are thinking, but this interaction is weird for sure, and I'm completely wrong. But Matt and Rand play sort of like good cop, bad cop, and tell this guy to get out of here. But then Matt says that he will name him as a dark friend in front of all his village friends. And I think, ooh, good one.
Yeah, I mean, the first initial weird part is that they let him sit down when they first meet him.
Yeah.
Like, they are going through this whole suspicious feeling thing, but they still let him sit down. And that's maybe due to, Matt's blindness, can't really see what's going on.
Maybe.
Had a good night rest.
Maybe.
But,
I don't know. So the young guy who calls himself Pater.
yeah.
Okay. seems super uneasy and says that he heard what happened in Four Kings and just wants to talk. And Matt seems slightly interested, but Rand shuts him right down and says, "We don't care." And they tell him to leave them alone.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is very similar to what Goad did, right? Because Goad said, hey, we have things to talk about.
Yes.
Because he had that impression of, like, we're on the same side.
Yes.
And I'm here to retrieve you.
Yeah.
And then when they put up that resistance, and here, Pater is doing the same thing.
Well, he's even saying, like, oh, I don't even really want to do this.
Yeah, I had to. They're making me do it, but
Yeah.
it sounds like he's here to do the same thing of collect the boys.
Yeah, but then they get up to leave, and then this Pater guy gets a little bit frantic and says, like, they have to wait. But, like, Rand has had enough. And he thinks about all the shit he's been through, and he gets so angry that he punches him right in the face.
It seems like a little, like, PTSD kicking in here.
A little bit. Like, leave me the fuck alone. I'm so sick of my life just being turned upside down, and you're telling me I can't leave, and, like, who the hell are you, stupid
Yeah. And it's
guy?
just like the him putting his hand on his shoulder to try to physically stop him.
Yeah. But from the ground, with a bloody nose, Pater says that it doesn't matter how strong they are, the great Lord of the Dark is stronger, and the shadow will swallow them.
And you probably shouldn't say that out loud.
Shouldn't yell that.
Yeah.
Because there's an old guy sweeping over in the corner, and it certainly gets his attention.
Yeah.
And then Pater runs away.
Yeah, he like up and books it.
Yeah. So Matt feels like they'll never get away, but Rand is reassuring and says they won't just lie down and be taken, so off they go again. They get rides from different farmers that day to the next village, and everyone seems to be talking about dark friends in their small little village. And some think it's funny, and others think that, like, the White Cloak should be called in. But all of the farmers that they're getting these rides from all have sort of a different story to share. Like, news has traveled.
Yeah, and again, this is like another situation where in Whitebridge, every story was a little bit different when Moiraine and Lan showed up, and like everyone had a different version of the actual events.
Yes.
And that was like a couple days had passed, and with this, they just came from here, like that day, and there's already crazy stories like being twisted out of proportion of what actually happened.
Right. So they make it to the next village and hesitate outside the inn. Like, it's small, and Rand compares it to the wine spring inn in Emmonsfield, but he also thinks about how it's funny that he thinks of this inn as small because he always thought the wine spring inn was the biggest building that buildings could be.
Yeah, and you remember what Daman told Rand and Matt? Daman said, once you go out and explore the world, you're not going to want to go back to your own little village.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Or at least you won't look at it the same way
Not going to look at it the same way, yeah.
Yeah. But they don't have enough money for a meal or a room, and Matt says he can see well enough to try juggling. And they decide that dark friends can't be in every inn they go to.
Right.
But I bet they are wrong.
Probably wrong.
Yeah. So they head in, and Rand notices that there are a bunch of people here that don't really belong.
Yeah, and this is really important world building information.
Yeah.
For what's going on.
Like, it's very crowded, and when they talked to the innkeeper, they found out that the inn is full of people headed to Camelin to see the false dragon.
Yes.
And the first time we heard about that was in Whitebridge with the innkeeper guy. He was talking about how they're bringing Logain through to Camelin because he was captured by the Aes Sedai, and the Aes Sedai are bringing him up to Tarvalon.
Yeah, and we did have a conversation about whether you thought that the Aes Sedai would actually do that, because it does sound kind of barbaric.
Yeah, it sounds kind of... Yeah, I didn't really believe that the Aes Sedai would do that.
Yeah, but it seems like it's actually happening.
It sounds like it's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's happening
in the
for
way,
everybody to see.
Yeah, or in the way that it was talked about.
Word has traveled. I don't think it's going to be the same way that past false dragons were sort of carted around in a cage so villagers could throw stones at them.
Yeah.
I really doubt that that's what's going on right now. I think that they're definitely transporting Logain to Tarvalon.
Yeah, so everyone's going to in the hopes that they're going to get to
see
him. Okay.
And they think that it might be the same as last time, but Aes Sedai weren't involved last time.
That's true.
Aes Sedai are involved now because it's confirmed that Logain can use the power.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, that's what people think. So everyone's on their way to Camelin to see this false dragon, and the innkeeper agrees to let them play, and that it might take everyone's minds off of Logain, because there's already been 3 fights about whether or not he's the real dragon. So as soon as the innkeeper leaves to clear a spot for them to play, Rand feels sick and so shaky that he has to sit down. He gets crazy chills and feels like his bones are freezing. And I think like this is clearly a reaction.
Yeah.
And this is the one we saw him coming down from at the beginning of the chapter.
Correct, yeah. And he was like, oh, it's a miracle that, it's a light's own luck that I got over it so quick.
Yes.
Or a gift from the light, I think is
how
he phrased it.
That's what he said. And now we know this is 2 days after the channeling. Less than 2 days, actually.
Yeah.
After the channeling.
And that is really quick.
Really close, because the last one was like 4 days, and the one before that was like a week.
Yeah.
So like this is escalating really quickly.
Really fast.
But we know for sure how wrong I was about speculating that the whole lightning strike was the reaction and the channeling happening together.
Yeah.
So that was wrong, but it's close.
It's very close, and that's concerning because Maureen told us that as soon as it gets to the same time,
that's when
the timer starts, and then if you don't figure shit out, you die.
Or go crazy in terms of like men.
Well, yeah, because she explained it from a woman's point of view.
Yeah, I think for men that's probably when you start going nuts.
So.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, but Rand can't really understand what's going on right now. People are all sort of moving around him, and finally Matt ushers him out of the kitchen. And he knows enough to apologize, and he tells Matt that he must be sick from being out in the rain. He thinks that basically they're being kicked out of there.
Yeah.
But nope, Matt is clever and quick.
I put that too. It's like quick thinking to just threaten the innkeeper.
Yeah, apparently the innkeeper was worried about others finding out about a sick guy in the inn.
Like crazy sick really fast.
And so Matt said that if he kicked them out, he would show everyone in the inn how sick Rand is.
Yeah.
And the innkeeper is letting them stay the night in the stable.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that's like a good point for Matt.
Yeah.
To be like, I'm going to bring him out to the common room.
And show everyone in your inn that there's this really sick guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt takes good care of his friend here. So it's kind of like a little back and forth.
We kind of get like a hint at the old Matt almost.
Yeah.
I feel like we're a little bit back to Matt as a real person, not tainted by, the dagger.
But I think that's because this chapter we spend not very much time around other people.
Yeah, like direct contact.
Yeah.
You're talking? Okay.
Because whenever we see other people or interact with other characters, Matt is squinting his eyes at them, and he's
even with
suspicious.
Chaim Kinch, he's like, oh, what do you know about dark friends?
Yeah.
It's like super aggressive.
Yeah, he is aggressive.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have very much interaction between Matt and other strangers.
Yeah.
And maybe he was too preoccupied with, he couldn't see.
Yeah,
maybe
that helps.
If you can't see other strangers, you can't be suspicious of them.
I guess so, yeah.
If
you don't know they're there.
Yeah, I don't know.
So.
But anyway, so Matt's taking good care of Rand. Rand goes from fever to chills and back quickly and refuses to eat any food. And then he starts hallucinating, and he's seeing Baal-Zaman and fades in the shadows in the barn.
And these, just as a side note...
Not barn, stable.
Yeah.
Sorry.
These hallucinations don't seem to be real. It seems to just be legit, hallucinations from a fever.
Yeah, so Matt tries to calm him down, and he tries to take his sword from him, but then Rand starts rambling and yelling, "You can't, it's my father's," and then he goes, "He is my father, he is my father."
Yeah.
And then he has, more fever dreams, which actually kind of reminds me of Tam's fever.
It does,
Because
yeah.
Tam was just rambling and now we're sort of getting an insight to maybe what was going on in Tam's mind.
Well,
hallucinating kind of thing.
And this is kind of like a call to everything Rand is like afraid of internally.
Yes.
Like he's so upset with himself for leaving Egwene behind.
Yep. In his hallucinations, he sees Egwene telling him that they're all dead because of him.
Yeah.
Because he abandoned them. And he goes on basically all night hallucinating about Moraine and Tom and Perrin, Damin, even Min.
And Lan is the most terrifying. And it's like, just because of the blood pouring out of his mouth. But this is kind of the interesting note, is that I love these books because the violence and the gore is there. And I'm excited for the TV show because it's going to be up to them to decide how far to take it.
Right.
The details are here if they want to run with it.
Right. Well, even back to the dream with Goad, sitting there being a burnt, disgusting, no flesh human, like who can't even talk.
And in RJ's writing, that's not the necessarily describing the gore. That's not the point of it.
Yeah.
Of the writing, it's like it's there because it's important, but that's not the point of the scene.
Right.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yes, Rand is dreaming of all these people, and they all basically yell at him and tell him how he basically screwed up their lives. And Tam shows up and he yells, "Who am I? Who am I?" And Matt wakes him up saying that you are Rand al'Thor.
With the ugliest face and the thickest head in the two rivers.
Aw.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of Egwene and Perrin. Will you dance with me on Sunday?
Yeah.
Just sort of like, they know they're in trouble. This isn't fun for anyone.
They're getting through it together.
They're getting through it together, and they're sort of reminiscing about just being back at home where everything's normal again.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said it's kind of like we're having a little bit of the old Matt back.
Yeah. But, so Rand finally drifts off to sleep with no interruptions, basically, and he is woken up by a woman coming into the stable. And she says that she's here to check on her horse, but then she doesn't take her eyes off the boys.
Yeah.
And Rand calls to Matt to wake him up, and she says that she can help his sickness, that she has some knowledge.
Yeah.
And Rand wonders if she's an Aes Sedai, and then he wonders of what Aja.
Yeah, which obviously is a big indicator of, is she like a red or...
Well, I noticed that she had a green dress.
Okay.
And in our bonus episode,
yeah.
I know Moraine has blue, and I put her in the blue Aja category as a guess.
Because of blue?
Because of the blue. Not knowing what that even means.
Yeah.
But if this is a...
You had some fun speculations on... that was a fun episode.
Yeah. It wasn't that fun for me.
Oh, it was really fun for me. Yeah.
But no, so I would speculate she's green, but clearly a dark friend, so that makes her secret black Aja, right? If she is an Aes Sedai?
Yeah, but also if she's actually an Aes Sedai, why would she try to stab them and not just blow them up with fire or something like that?
Because they're not meant to be blown up.
Just stabbed?
Yeah, just stabbed.
Right.
Oh yeah, okay. Maybe not then.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay, so she gets right up close to Rand and she feels his head, but then she reaches under her cloak, acting like she's going to get something to help him, but then things happen really fast and she lunges across Rand at Matt with a knife, and Matt reacts so fast. I'm so proud of Matt.
Yeah, this is a huge point.
His reaction time has been terrible. He's the one who's always unhorsed. And even Rand caught him off guard at Shadar Logoth, and...
He did. Matt's had some not great luck.
No.
But Matt is quick.
Yes.
And he's got quick hands in the sense of he's the juggler.
Yeah, that's true too. Maybe that practice has been good for him.
Yeah, it was kind of noted that Matt has really quick hands. He's the better juggler, and Rand is more musically inclined.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is a really good point that this lady sees that Rand is pretty much
incapacitated
completely, so her first impression is lunge across, stab Matt, and then kill Rand after.
I was wondering if, because of that stuff you mentioned, that Baal-Zaman isn't asking which one are you.
Yes.
Maybe it's less about capture the other two. Maybe he knows it's Rand, and so it's like, just kill them and get them out of the way.
Kill the other two and keep Rand?
Maybe.
Okay.
Because I didn't think about that before, but maybe.
Because, yeah, I did mention that they're all three are marked now, officially.
They're all marked.
And this is the first time that we've seen someone try to actually kill the boys.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of the boys. And we think that she's for sure trying to kill Nat, because that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Things have changed.
Yeah, because, okay, so her blade has been driven into the wood of the wall, and Matt is holding her wrist with one hand and has his dagger out at her throat with his other hand. And he has been waiting to pull this out on someone.
He has been.
Finally! Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So Rand then notices that the blade of her little dagger is stuck in the wood, and he sees that the wood is blackening all around the blade, and smoke is starting to rise from it. And Matt pushes her back and tells her not to move, and she is just eyeing this dagger like she almost knows that it's bad news. Like, she eyes it, and her eyes widen when she sees it.
Okay.
Like, she looks down at the dagger and tries to struggle away from it, but then she notices that it's like this ruby-hilted dagger, and she stops struggling.
So, I also think it's because Matt has her by the wrist, and the dagger's pressed against her throat.
Yeah.
And when she pulls away, Matt presses it further against her throat.
Okay.
So she stops moving because he's not letting up.
And he's actually gonna probably try to kill her.
Yeah,
okay.
because
I
it's
didn't
also
know if she like noticed that his dagger was weird or something. I'm super obsessed with this dagger.
I know you are. I know you. It's just the words are eyes widening. She drew a ragged breath and tried to pull back from it, but he kept the edge against her skin. So like as she pulls back, he's like pressing it against her throat.
Okay.
And then she's like, "Oh man, this guy's actually like not just letting me go."
Okay. All right. So he tells her to not move. He pushes her away, and she takes him seriously.
Yeah.
So he takes the dagger out of the wall, like the one that she stuck in there, and hands it to Rand. Then Matt looks to her like he wants to use his dagger.
Not only like he wants to, like he's legit going to. Yeah.
And Rand tells him no. But then Matt argues that she would have killed him, and she's a dark friend.
Yeah.
And Rand says, yeah, but we aren't dark friends.
And I need you to weigh in on this situation. Should Matt go and kill her?
No.
Why?
Because it'll like leave a mark behind that they were there.
More of a mark than having her just go free?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be more detriment if they just go around leaving corpses behind. Like leaving a trail.
Yeah, that's
because,
fair.
I mean, her word is her word, but if they're gone, they're gone. And if she's dead there, then that's exactly where they were.
But it's also now a dark friend who's going to go report their whereabouts.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not actually, here's exactly where they were because this is where a dead body is. Plus, it's the whole, if you're on the good side, you don't just kill people.
Okay. I also totally disagree with that philosophy.
I know you do.
But maybe that won't win me any favors. But no. I am not with the side like the good guys shouldn't kill the bad guys.
No, I know that. I think sometimes that definitely people need to be killed. Like if it were a situation where they were still threatened by her to be killed.
But in my mind, they are still being threatened to be killed by her.
Oh, so you wanted Matt to kill her?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Oh, I'm just still thinking of the whole...
I'm not on the whole give the bad guys mercy side. That's not what I'm about.
No, I know. Maybe you're a bad guy then.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that argument, like if you kill a killer, the same number of killers exist in the world, but not if you kill enough of them.
Oh.
Kill two, and then there's less killers in the world, right?
So, okay, Brett.
Yeah. No. I'm all about the vigilante justice.
Jeez. Okay, okay, Batman.
Yeah. No, Batman's the worst. He doesn't kill anyone.
Oh.
Batman's whole thing is like, I don't kill bad guys, but it's like, you know what, man?
The Joker got out a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some bad guys, man.
Oh, man.
But again, this is all like hypothetical in storybooks.
Yeah, it really is. But I'm also thinking about how you said that their power and the things they do, they either can hide or they can light signal fires. And I think killing a dark friend is a huge signal fire.
Okay.
Because she can go report their whereabouts, but how much is she actually going to be believed because they escaped?
So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
If Moraine and Lan are in the same situation, what would Moraine and Lan do with this dark friend?
Dead, probably.
I'm just curious.
I don't know. I don't know very much actually about them.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about their character and about how they feel and think. I don't know enough.
Yeah.
Have we seen Moraine kill anyone?
I mean, she takes a very cautious hand to not kill people who are not dark friends.
Yeah.
We haven't seen...
Like, she got everyone off that barge.
But none of them were dark friends, though. That's a totally different thing. But if someone was... Like, if this chick tried to stab...
Because they oppose the Dark One no matter what. But they're also not being pursued. Moraine and Lan killing this dark friend is completely different than Rand and Matt killing this dark friend.
If Moraine was sick and was going through this crazy illness, and Lan was by her side, and she tries to stab Moraine...
she's dead. She would, like...
Lan's gonna kill her without...
for sure.
Yeah.
100%, but that's his duty.
Yeah.
It's a completely different situation.
I don't know if it's completely different.
They are not being pursued by the Dark One, and they don't have to worry about hiding from the Dark One.
Okay.
Like, Rand and Matt are being pursued.
Different terms, yeah.
It's completely different.
Okay.
And Matt isn't pledged to protect Rand with his life. Like, if he was, he probably would have just killed him. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's completely different. Of course Lan is killing anyone who threatens Moraine.
My whole point, I would not be upset if Matt ended up killing this chick.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I get it if he did. I think it's smart that they didn't. I think it's smart. I think it was tactful.
Okay.
Because I think killing her would have been hasty. It wouldn't have been a smart decision.
Don't be hasty.
Don't be hasty.
Don't be hasty.
Anyway, so Matt reluctantly makes her go into some room in the stable. And as she moves into the room, she tells them to stop running. So this is interesting because every dark friend that we've seen so far, there's been 3.
Yep.
And every one of them acted nice and friendly and even a little bit dumb at the beginning. Then, when they got refused, got angry and pissed off and threatened them.
Yeah.
So even the, like, little frightened young man who was all by himself and didn't even really want to go talk to them, when he got punched in the face, like, he got pissed off and, like, yelled in their face and threatened them that the Dark One's going to get them anyway.
Yeah.
So same with this woman. She says pursuit will only make it worse in the end. And she knows about the goad incident, and she knows that something happened back with the young dark friend, but no one really knows what happened there. And she says that there has been considerable confusion since those incidences.
Yeah. I have 2 points I want to bring up. First point is the fact that information doesn't even pass perfectly to dark friends.
No.
Considering she has no idea what actually happened in Market Shiran.
Right.
Which is with Pater.
Yeah. And she is not the first person to tell them that they will have an honored place next to the Great Lord. But Matt is a complete badass here and says, so you're having trouble with a couple of farm boys. Maybe you dark friends aren't as dangerous as I've always heard.
Yeah.
And she says that they will find out how dangerous they are when the Fade gets here.
Yeah.
But then Matt slams the door on her and they lock her in.
Yeah. So second point I just want to bring up here. So I had asked you about the whole Goad situation. About did Baalzamon kill Goad after it was apparent that Goad failed. And my whole question is because we get a similarity where the Dark Friends try to get them to come onto their side, and then that doesn't happen, and then they get super angry.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe if they fail in their mission, they're going to get punished for failing in their mission.
Yeah.
So that's why the anger kicks in.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, then it also, like, they take a huge risk. Clearly, they know who to look for, and even if they see them, they have to take a calculated risk about whether or not they're going to approach them.
Yeah.
Because if they fail, then for sure they're going to be punished.
Yeah.
Right? But, like, eternal glory if they succeed.
So it's like, is it worth the risk?
Calculated risk.
Yeah.
And it seems that they're taking the risk.
It does seem that way.
So Matt slams the door on her, locks her in, and then they head out into the village where there's already people around, and they don't quite look like such the spectacle because there's all sorts of people around. Rand is starting to feel a bit better.
Yeah.
So he is able to walk on his own, but only for a little bit. Because as they head out of the village, Rand can't really go any further. And Matt tries to say, like, come on, man, we gotta keep going.
Yeah. Like, they only make it about a mile.
Yeah, but he can't. He can't keep going. And a cart slows down and stops to ask them what's wrong. And Matt and Rand explain that, he just hasn't slept and he's tired. And they tell the guy that they're going to Camelin to see the false dragon. And the guy introduces himself as Chaim Kinch.
Which links us back to the beginning of the chapter.
We come full circle.
Absolutely.
To the beginning of the chapter.
Yeah. So definitely out of order.
Yeah.
But again, intentional.
Yeah. Intentionally to, like, make us confused.
Yeah.
RJ really doesn't want us to know where anyone is. I was waiting for...
Yeah, he doesn't.
I was hoping for a full moon reference.
Yeah, I know you were waiting for that because you'd brought that up previously. And you know what? You still might get that full moon reference.
I know. I'm so hoping. I don't know if this is... Now we're done with the flashbacks, flash forwards, flash presents.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm really hoping so. I'm really actually curious about Perrin and Egwene.
Yeah.
Which, like, it's a turning point in the series when I'm hoping for a Perrin chapter. I'm also...
You're hoping for a Perrin chapter because you know Moiraine and Lan are heading that way.
I'm hoping. But then, like, why don't I just get, like, a Moiraine chapter?
Yeah.
I'd like to see in Maureen's head.
Okay, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, or even back to Nynaeve. Like, I just want to know where people are. I want things to come together. We had to wait quite a while to record this.
We did,
so
yeah.
It has been probably about a week and a half.
It's been a while.
Since I could actually read a new chapter.
Yeah.
So I had to just reread this one before we recorded tonight because, man, I just want to keep going.
Yeah, I know. And I'll have that visual diagram drawn up for you.
Yeah. So timeline-wise, I just have a quick note for us to just wrap up. They are 2 days away from Camelin right now, at the end of this chapter.
Yes.
Okay. And the beginning of chapter 31, where they're, like, hiding in the bushes and stuff.
Yeah.
Or behind the hedges.
Yes.
We haven't got to that point in time yet.
We haven't gotten to the point in time that chapter 31 started at. No.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Okay, so where we end off this chapter, they're 2 days from Camelin and about 2 days past Four Kings.
3 days.
3 days, right, because they went overnight. Okay, in the stable. So 3 days past Four Kings, 2 days from Camelin, and then they're about a week or two past Whitebridge.
Yep.
And I don't know where anyone else is.
Yep.
And I'm frustrated.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I also have a point to end us off.
Sure.
I think the only one we have using the power so far is Rand.
Okay, because I know you've speculated about Matt.
I don't think so.
And why?
Well, we haven't seen, and I think the reaction, quote reaction, when he was
acting crazy,
acting reckless
in
Shadar
Logoth.
Logoth.
Yep.
I think that had to do with Mordeth or Mashadar. I think that he was either possessed or taken over or cursed before they even went searching. Because he was talking about treasure before they even met Mordeth.
True. Or, here's a theory. Matt's not dumb, but he's a dumbass.
Okay.
And his whole thing in Shadar Logoth was just him being a dumbass.
He was just, like, having fun.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought, too. I was like, Matt's so stupid. So, the theories were he's just a dumbass. He was cursed from the beginning and led the boys out to go find where Mordeth was.
Because he went into the alley first.
He did do that. That was my theory. Yeah. And then the other one is it was a reaction because he's acting reckless.
Yes.
Now, I'm taking away the reaction thing because we haven't seen
There's
actual
no
channeling episode, and we've seen no other reactions.
Yeah.
And the only thing we know about Matt is that he is a brooding asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing we know about Perrin is he has this wolf ability,
Yep.
which we know 100% is not connected with the power because
We do
it
know
works
that.
in the steading.
Yes.
100% we know it's not the power. That's just...
And from what Elias says, too.
Well, and what Elias says,
Yeah.
sure, like he could say lots of things,
Yeah.
but they went into the steading where Egwene couldn't feel the power, but
Perrin
still could hear the wolves. So
Exactly.
100%, we know that.
Okay.
And Rand, I think right now, like maybe Matt in the future, who knows, but like right now I don't
no.
have any
Okay.
evidence of it, and I think that Rand is the only one.
Awesome. Okay.
And I think that's where we should leave it for tonight, because
Yeah.
I want to go read.
Yes.
That should be our new tagline sign off.
I want to go read.
Yeah.
All right.
But thank you for breaking this down for us.
Yeah.
And I want to say that that is part of the pattern now.
Yeah, it's part of the pattern.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Wheel Weaves. If you're interested in bonus content, cool stickers, shoutouts, access to exclusive insider looks, and to support us making great content, you can head over to patreon.com/The Wheel Weaves podcast. You can find us on social media where we love interacting with our listeners. We're on Twitter at The Wheel Weaves podcast and on Instagram at The Wheel Weaves podcast. You can also join the conversation on our Discord channel. There is a channel for no spoilers that I have access to, and we also have a spoilers channel that Brett controls, so fun for everybody. There will be a link on Twitter and also over on our Patreon page. You can check that out. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. This really does make a huge difference. Plus, if you want to tell a friend about us, maybe someone who is just getting into the book series for the first time, or other longtime fans who you think would enjoy us, word of mouth is the best way for us to reach new listeners, and we would take it as a really huge compliment. Thanks, as always, to audionautics.com for the music, and thanks to you awesome listeners.